Imagine giving up absolutely everything you know, your home, your safety, your entire livelihood, and doing all of that just because of a dream? Okay, welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking Paulo Coelho's worldwide phenomenon, The Alchemist. It's this incredibly gripping story about a simple shepherd who risks his life for a vision of hidden treasure, only to uncover a massive, mind-bending twist at the very end. A twist that completely redefines what success, destiny, and human potential actually mean.
Seriously, think about this for a second. What if the treasure you've been searching for your entire life is actually waiting exactly where your journey began? I know, it sounds like an impossible paradox, right? But this question is the absolute beating heart of our story today, and I promise you, the twist at the end of this journey completely rewrites the meaning of everything that happens before it. So stick with me, because you're going to want to see exactly how this unbelievable realization unfolds. All right, let's dive into the first major phase of our story, the call to adventure, which all kicks off with a shepherd's recurring dream.
So on paper, our main character Santiago's life is totally safe and predictable. He's a young, comfortable shepherd roaming the hills of Andalusia, Spain. But while sleeping under this giant sycamore tree inside an old abandoned church, he keeps being haunted by a recurring dream. In it, a child transports him all the way to the Egyptian pyramids, whispering about this magnificent hidden treasure. Now, he might have just brushed it off, but then a gypsy fortune teller and a mysterious old king named Melchizedek both basically confirm that this dream is totally real. Suddenly, Santiago is forced to make a terrifying, life-altering choice.
And this brings us to a really profound psychological concept that the book introduces, the personal legend. The old king explains to Santiago that a personal legend is essentially your true purpose in life. It's the exact dream you were put on this earth to achieve. And here's the kicker. As children, we naturally know what this is. We dream big, right? But as we grow older, the creeping vines of fear, societal expectations, and just the warm, fuzzy comfort of our daily routines convince us to abandon it.
Before parting ways, the king leaves Santiago with this piece of wisdom that honestly changes everything. He says, when you truly want something, all the universe conspires in helping you achieve it. Just let that sink in for a moment. Empowered by those words, Santiago makes his choice. He chooses courage over comfort. He sells his entire flock of sheep, literally everything he knows and owns, leaves his homeland, and sails across to Africa to chase the impossible.
But, as you might expect, reality hits him hard and fast in our next phase. He's immediately tested by failure during a complete disaster in Tangier. The very moment Santiago steps foot in Africa, his grand, romantic adventure becomes an absolute nightmare. A seemingly friendly stranger ruthlessly robs him of every single penny he has. It's a harsh reminder that every dream begins with excitement, but is almost always immediately tested by failure. So Santiago is sitting alone on a hill in Tangier, completely broke, crying, and feeling like a total fool. I mean, we've all been there in some way, haven't we? The moment you finally take a massive leap of faith, you're crushed by a setback that makes you want to just sprint right back to safety.
But instead of retreating, Santiago takes a job with a local crystal merchant, and this gives us a fascinating look at human psychology. The merchant has dreamed of traveling to Mecca his entire life, but he chooses safety. Why? Because he is terrified that if he actually achieves his dream, he'll have no reason left to live. It's wild, right? Santiago, on the other hand, chooses change. He takes creative risks, like convincing the merchant to serve tea in the crystal glasses, which makes them both super wealthy. And then, instead of just settling into this awesome new comfort zone, Santiago risks it all over again to keep pursuing his ultimate destiny.
Just think about the sheer scale of the journey he's on now. He's gone from the safety of Andalusia, Spain, survived the disaster in Tangier, and now he's using his new wealth to join a massive caravan crossing the unforgiving Sahara Desert. His ultimate goal, the Egyptian pyramids, is still so far in the distance. What started as a physical trek has really evolved into a monumental spiritual journey.
Which brings us right into our next chapter, love, the desert, and discovering what the book calls the soul of the world.
As the caravan crosses the seemingly endless Sahara, the literal journey kind of takes a back seat to the people Santiago meets. He runs into an Englishman who is desperately searching for a legendary alchemist, and the contrast between these two guys is striking. The Englishman is trying to master the world by burying his face in complex, heavy books. Santiago, though, he learns by just observing the desert, watching the camel drivers, and experiencing life directly. Through paying attention, Santiago discovers the soul of the world, this profound, invisible, pulsing energy that connects every single living thing on the planet.
Then, tribal wars force the caravan to halt at a peaceful oasis, and Santiago's resolve is totally shattered for the very first time. He meets a woman named Fatima and falls instantly, deeply in love. He actually considers abandoning his entire quest just to stay safe at the oasis with her. But Fatima offers him this incredible truth. True love never stops someone from becoming who they are meant to be. If their love is genuine, it will wait for him. It's such a powerful message. Real love supports your destiny. It doesn't chain you down.
It's also at this oasis that Santiago finally meets the man himself, the mysterious alchemist. Now, this guy isn't some professor giving long, boring lectures. He's a man of pure action who imparts 4 crucial lessons to Santiago. First, you have to listen to your heart. Second, realize that the fear of suffering is actually far worse than the suffering itself. Third, understand that every single obstacle is purposefully preparing you for your destiny. And finally, trust that nature speaks a universal language we can all understand. These truths are exactly what Santiago needs for the insane climax that's about to happen.
Okay, buckle up, because we're hitting the climax, becoming the wind. This is his ultimate test.
Shortly after leaving the oasis, Santiago and the alchemist are captured by a brutal tribe of desert warriors and face imminent execution. To save their lives, the alchemist does something that seems absolutely insane. He boldly tells the tribal chief that Santiago is this powerful sorcerer who can transform himself into the wind. The chief gives them a 3-day deadline to prove it, or they die. The crazy part? Santiago is terrified. I mean, he's a shepherd, not a wizard. But facing certain death, he is forced to strip away all his human doubt and test the absolute raw limits of his potential.
So on the 3rd day, standing on a cliff edge in a scene of just sheer cinematic intensity, Santiago doesn't cast some magic spell. Instead, he looks outward. He literally speaks to the desert. He negotiates with the wind. He communes directly with the sun itself, deeply tapping into the very soul of the world we talked about earlier, while the tribal warriors just watch in absolute trembling terror.
And then boom! A massive, blinding sandstorm erupts out of nowhere, completely swallowing the camp and nearly wiping it off the map. Coelho leaves this brilliantly ambiguous. Did Santiago literally dissolve into the physical wind? Or is this a stunning metaphor for his total mastery over his own fear and nature? Honestly, it doesn't matter, because the message echoes loudly either way. Human potential is infinitely greater than anything we have been conditioned to believe.
Having survived the impossible, we finally reach the resolution. The real treasure, sparked by a robber's confession.
Santiago finally reaches the majestic Egyptian pyramids. He falls to his knees, weeping with joy, and starts furiously digging in the sand. But instead of striking gold, he is brutally attacked and beaten bloody by wandering robbers. Desperate, Santiago gasps that he's digging because of a reoccurring dream. And the leader of the robbers? He just laughs in his face. He mocks Santiago, revealing that he too once had a reoccurring dream. He dreamed of a treasure buried under a sycamore tree inside an abandoned church in Spain. Boom. The ultimate gut punch. That abandoned church is the exact spot where Santiago used to sleep with his sheep before this entire adventure even began.
The physical treasure was literally right under his nose the entire time. So Santiago travels all the way back home to Spain, digs under that very same sycamore tree, and uncovers a massive chest overflowing with gold and jewels. But here's the magnificent philosophical irony of the whole story. Without the journey, he never would have believed it. If someone had told him to dig under his favorite tree on day 1, he wouldn't have understood the language of the world, and he certainly wouldn't have possessed the courage, the wisdom, or the grit required to actually claim his destiny.
So, let's wrap this up by looking at finding your true purpose and the journey's actual reward. Because, let's be honest, the literal gold in that chest was just a byproduct. The true reward was who Santiago became along the way. Let's distill these core life lessons. First, you have a personal legend, a totally unique purpose that demands active courage to pursue. Second, fear. The fear of failure destroys far more dreams than genuine failure ever will. Third, love. Authentic love will always support your destiny. It's never going to hold you back. Fourth, destiny. When you fully commit, the universe literally conspires to present you with opportunities. And finally, transformation. The destination is completely irrelevant if the journey doesn't fundamentally change the traveler. So, as we close out this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative question. What is your personal legend? And what immense treasure might you be ignoring right in front of you simply because you are too afraid to take that first step? Sometimes, we literally have to travel 1,000 miles and face our darkest fears just to become the person capable of recognizing the gold sitting right in our own backyard.
That's it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Now get out there and start listening to your own recurring dreams.